everyone. This is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and this is my wife, Reverend Diane Paul. Hello, Christy. Whisper. Matthew this time. Have to do that at the beginning. Y'all let me know if you see anybody else pop in there. I think Linda was going to try to make it tonight. I don't see her out there. So let's
I see Linda's name down here. Is Linda on with us?
No. Did you see her online?
I see Linda's name down at the bottom of the screen.
Well, I don't see her online yet, so.
I see Pamela at the bottom. Stephen. I got my headphones on.
No, Linda's not online yet, according to this. Let me restart my video and see if...
I see Rodney. There you are. I see Roger.
Yeah, I see you.
No, you're circling.
Okay, well, that might be the case tonight. We may not be able to...
It wasn't active. It was a photo of you with a red check shirt, sort of.
Well,
like Rodney. Rodney's just a photo of him.
Okay. Well, let's get started. Let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. You want to have a say a prayer? We'll get started.
Dear Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity that we can come together in your name and to learn more about the Rancher book and to study together and to be able to keep our minds open and receptive to the knowledge that will be given today so that we also may be channels of the information to pass on to others. We thank you for this weather that we're having, Father, and the lessons that we are learning as a result of the different lifestyles that we incur with this kind of weather. We ask that everyone be safe. And just thank you for this day. We thank you for each other that we come together. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so we're on section 5 of paper 128. Okay? And for those at home that are just joining us, you'll see behind me on the video, you won't see it on Skype probably, but on the video you'll see slides, and these slides are online, available at 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship.com underneath the meeting you're looking at right now. So if you'd like to follow along the slides, that's where you'll find them. You can download them and look at them, or you can follow along in the Urantia book, and we're on page 310, the third paragraph. That's paper 128, section 28. I'm sorry, section 5, paragraph 1. All right, and I will start out reading tonight, and we'll go from there. And y'all let me know if you see anybody else pop in there. Okay. First, let's go over a little bit what we talked about last time. Last time we talked about the orders of the Superuniverse, the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. We also talked about the Superuniverse, the Tertiary, and the Omniverse, right? And the difference between them. So tonight we're going to continue on with the secondary Superuniverse. Now remember, there's a primary Superuniverse, a secondary Superuniverse, and a tertiary Superuniverse. And those should not be confused with the Tertiary or Omniverse. It's a different order of angel, right? So tonight we're going to take the second part, which is the secondary Superuniverse. Okay? The Superuniverse of the secondary order, excuse me, excuse me again, are no less reflective than their primary fellows. Being classed as primary, secondary, or tertiary does not indicate a differential of status or function in the case of the Superuniverse. It merely denotes the orders of procedure. Identical qualities are all exhibited by all three groups in their activities. So that tells us both the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary are all considered on the same level, right? They're all about the same level or order of angel. It's just the difference in the way we perceive them.
What is the reflective What kind of quality is that?
Okay, the reflectivity. The reflectivity, the Sakanathim, are used to be able to actually see a being that the Ancients of Days, or whoever uses this services, can actually see the being they want to talk to just as if they were standing right in front of you. So it would be like standing in front of a big mirror, and instead of seeing yourself, you'd actually see the person you're talking to. Almost like a telephone or a video phone. Okay?
On Skype.
Like Skype, that's right. So they can actually see the being they want to discuss something with, or see the person that they want to get this information from. And that works both all the way to paradise and all the way down to the worlds, right? And that's what they call reflectivity. And it's only the ministering angels or the ministering spirits that have this capability of reflectivity. Okay? So all the other beings use this, and including the creator sons, all the way up, many orders of beings all the way up to paradise. Okay? All right. Stephen, do you want to take the next paragraph? Is he still out there? Stephen?
He's turn your speaker on.
Turn your speaker on, Stephen.
Microphone.
Yeah, your microphone.
I can see your mouth moving, but we're not getting it.
Okay, how's that?
That's
good.
better.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
The 7 reflective types of secondary Sakanathim are assigned to services of the coordinate Trinity Origin Associates of the Ancients of Days as follows. You want me to continue?
Yes. Go all the way down to 2855. All right.
Okay. To the perfecters of wisdom, the voices of wisdom, the soul of philosophy, and the union of souls, to the divine counselors, the hearts of counselors, the joys of existence, and the satisfaction of services, to the universal censor, the discerns of spirits. Like the primary order, this group is created serially, that is, the firstborn was a voice of wisdom, and the 7th thereafter was similar, and so with the 6 other types of these reflective angels.
Okay, let's stop there. All right. You got 2 slides, but that's okay. Oh, let me advance this. Y'all bear with me 1 second. I'm falling behind already tonight. Okay, so think about this. Just like the primary Sakanathim had 7 types of angels, basically in their order, the secondary has the same amount of angels. And on the slide that I have, which y'all can't see, but it is in the slides, it's a picture of these different types of angels. And they include the voices of wisdom, the souls of philosophy, and the union of souls. They also include the hearts of counsel, the joys of existence, and the satisfactions of service. And the last one is the discerner of spirits. And we're going to learn about each one of these groups. But the important thing about this first slide is this. The 3 first ones give reflectivity possibilities to the perfecters of wisdom. And these are Trinity origin beings, okay? And they're associates of the Ancients of Days. And I don't know if you remember when we studied a few weeks ago about the divine counselors and the universal censors and the perfecters of wisdom. These are like courts beneath the Ancients of Days. They're mobile courts. They can go out and adjudicate a problem away from the Ancients of Days under the supervision of the Ancients of Days. So these angels provide reflectivity to these perfecters of wisdom so they can do what? They can communicate with the Ancients of Days. So if they run into an issue, they can respond to this and get advice from the Ancients of Days. What else can they do? They can also give these perfecters of wisdoms, the divine counselors, and the universal censors advice on these different subjects, and we're going to go through each one of these. So they not only provide reflectivity, but they provide information through this reflectivity. Okay, so let's keep going. Let me go ahead and go one more slide here. What did I do there? I didn't know. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to go over this slide one more time. Millie, would you take that 2856 one more time? I'd like to discuss this too. Millie? Millie, turn your mic back on.
Mic is on, but I don't know what 2856 is.
Oh, page 3108.
Number 1, the voice of wisdom.
Like the primary order.
Oh,
You see it? Rodney, do you see what I'm talking about?
yeah, I got it.
Why don't you go ahead and take it, and we'll get Millie on the next time around.
The last thing that Stephen read. Like the primary order, this group was created serially. That is, the firstborn was a voice of wisdom, and the seventh thereafter was simpler, and so were the 6 other types of these reflective angels.
Okay, so remember last week, Millie, when we were talking about these angels, they're created in order. So the firstborn is created for one job, the second for another, the third for another, the fourth, and so on and so on. So every group of 7 that's created are created for these specific functions, right? Okay,
Yes.
and that's what they're talking about, created serially. All right, so let me go down here and advance this over here.
Well,
Is that my cat or your cat?
It's Millie's.
Millie's? Okay.
That's Merlin. He's
Merlin.
mad because he can't go outside.
Oh, okay.
He went outside and came in and fussed about it. And I said, it's not my fault.
Oh, okay.
It's just ice.
Val, would you like to read tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to take number 1, the voice of wisdom? Hey, Rodney, just read the we're going to come back to Millie, so she get caught up there.
Okay.
28571, voice of wisdom, right?
The voice of wisdom, that's right.
The voice of wisdom said, these second things are in perpetual liaison with the living libraries of paradise. Studying of knowledge belonging to the primary supernothing. In specialized reflective service, the voices of wisdom are living, current, replete. How do you say that?
Replete, and yeah, that's right, replete.
And thoroughly reliable illustrations and vocalizations of the coordinated wisdom of the universe of universes to the well-nigh infinite volume of information circulating on the master circuit of the super-universes. These super beings are so reflective and selective, so sensitive as to be able to segregate and receive the essence of wisdom and
Unerringly.
to transmit these jewels of mentation to their superiors, the perfecters of the wisdom. And they saw the function that the perfecters of wisdom, those things are jumping on
Not only here in the actual and original expression.
I click and that thing jumps.
I'll finish it off.
Perfecter of wisdom, and they so function that the perfecters of wisdom not only here the actual and original expressions of this wisdom, but also reflectivity, see the very beings of high or lowly origin who gives voice to it. That's
Okay.
what you are talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay, so the voice of wisdom. Remember, these work under what being? Remember in the other one we just talked about. So the voices of wisdom.
The perfecters of wisdom.
That's right, the perfecters of wisdom, right? So they're like their reflective agents, okay? And so they work so well that they collect all the information and all the wisdom throughout all the circulating circuits, master circuits of the superuniverse, okay? And they immediately transmit these, what they say, jewels of mentation to their superiors. So this information automatically goes back to whom? The perfecters of wisdom. Okay, so the perfecters of wisdom can actually see and hear the very beings, high or low, that gave voice to this wisdom, right? So it's just as if they were right there in front of them. That's, if you think about that, that's just amazing. You know?
Technology.
Yeah, it's beyond anything we have, that's for sure.
That's what I call technology.
Yeah.
And they can, they don't work with the mortals.
No, they don't work with mortals. They work on other beings, though, that have need of this, higher than mortals. Okay. Now, it says here, if man lacks wisdom, if you were on a sphere of light and life, you probably would have access to this, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't be in quarantine like we are, right? All right, you want to take the next one here?
It is written, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask. On Uversa, when it becomes necessary to arrive at the decisions of wisdom in the perplexing situations of the complex affairs of the super-universe government, when both the wisdom of perfection and of practicability must be forthcoming, then do the perfecters of wisdom summon a battery of the voices of wisdom, and by the consummate skill of their order, so attune and directionalize these living receivers of the end-minded and circulating wisdom of the universe of universes, that presently from these secaraphic voices there ensues a stream of the wisdom of divinity from the universe above, and a flood of the wisdom of practicality from the higher minds of the universes below. Okay,
so think about what it's saying. They're talking about on Uversa, right? So they're reflecting information about the affairs of the super universe government. Did you catch that? So that goes all the way down through our local universes, doesn't it? Okay? And when they need this information, they summon a battery of the voices of wisdom. So they have a bunch of these guys working at the same time, right? And so they want to make sure that they get all the wisdom available for whatever particular problem they have running the super universe government, that these beings would have all possible practical information that they can draw from. Isn't that amazing?
Nice source.
It's a nice source to have, isn't it? All right. All right, I'll take the next one here so that I can get the right mouse over here. Okay, if confusion arises regarding the harmonization of these two versions of wisdom, immediate appeal is made to the divine counselors. We've heard of those before, haven't we? There's on the traveling courts, who forthwith rules as to the proper combination of procedures. If there is any doubt as to the authenticity of something coming in from the realms where rebellion has been rife, appeal is made to the censors, who with their discerners of spirit are able to rule immediately as to what manner of spirit actuated the advisor. So are the wisdom of the ages and the intellect of the moment ever present with the ancients of days, like an open book before magnificent gauge. Now I want to give you all an example that you can relate to. You remember during when Lucifer and when Calabasas went into rebellion, right? There was a being, who was a man, that was it man that did it? That put in an appeal to the rulers of the universe, right? And that's when our broadcast got severed, wasn't it? So this is along the same line, right? So if someone needs wisdom, or they have a question, or they doubt something is going on, even in a rebellion, in a universe where rebellion has broke out, they still ask what the proper procedures, right? So he was asking the Most Highs, but in these cases, these beings would be asking who? Ancients of Days, right? Works the same way. If you have a question or if you're in doubt, you ask someone who knows, right? So you're never lost. It's like a backup for running the Superuniverse government, isn't it? No matter what position you get into. Okay? Stephen, you want to take the next paragraph?
Okay. You can just faintly comprehend what all this means to those who are responsible for the conduct of the superuniverse governments. The immensity and the comprehensiveness of these transactions are quite beyond finite conception. When you stand, as I repeatedly have, in the special receiving chambers of the Temple of Wisdom on Uversa and see all this in actual operation, you will be moved to adoration by the perfection of the complexity and by the surety of the working of the interplanetary communications of the universes. You will pay homage to the divine wisdom and goodness of the gods who plan and execute with such superb technique, and these things actually happen just as I have portrayed them.
So through this reflectivity, there's no doubt in what the proper course or procedure is ever, is there? Things are run a specific way, and through these ministering spirits again, these angels, they're able to see, not only see these beings for information and wisdom, but they actually can talk to them. Isn't that nice? Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
Roger?
Yeah, Rodney.
I'd like to add that this paper was sponsored by Mighty Messenger.
That's right. It was.
So that Mighty Messenger is, when he says I, that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, it sure was. Mighty Messenger. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes, 2. The soul of philosophy. These wonderful teachers are also attached to the perfecters of wisdom and, when not otherwise directionalized, remain focal synchrony with the masters of philosophy on paradise. Remain in focal synchrony. I don't know the word synchrony. With the masters of philosophy on paradise.
They're in tune with these.
Yeah, I know what it means. I just don't know that one. I've never seen that one. Of course, they make up words, too. Think of stepping up to a huge living mirror, as it were, but instead of beholding the likeness of your finite and material self, or perceiving a reflection of the wisdom of divinity and the philosophy of paradise. And if it becomes desirable to incarnate this philosophy of perfection, so to dilute it as to make it practical in application to and assimilation by the lowly peoples of the lower worlds, these living mirrors have only to turn their faces downward to reflect the standards and needs of another world or universe.
Okay, so let's kind of break this one down. The soul philosophy, this is the second type of Sakanafin, right? And they also serve the perfecters of wisdom, right? Now, this is angel number 2. There's one more we're going to learn about in a second. But let's think about what they're saying here. If they want to assimilate something to the people of the lower worlds like us, all they have to do is turn their face downward, and it reflects these standards and needs of another world in that universe to us. If we were not in rebellion, right? But that can't happen right now, can it? Because we're in rebellion. Okay? But when
Well, now, Roger, I'm thinking that, we are stopping this from happening. In other words, they're all ready to do their part.
oh yeah,
We just haven't learned what our part is.
that's exactly right.
Okay, so there's, in other words, at the beginning of this, they say they have an ascendant scheme. That's a higher degree for the mortal progression.
That's
So
right.
it's not something they can give us.
No.
It is something that we have to desire and strive for and find the ways and means from their teachings.
That's right. And you have to earn it, right, Stephen?
Yeah, you would, because it's going to take a whole different set of principles to operate from.
That's right. Now,
Okay.
and because we've been cut off, we're in quarantine. These benefits of us to us cannot come to us. You see that?
I think I read somewhere when I went through this before we met tonight, we're in partial quarantine.
Well,
We're not in total quarantine. We'll find it before we get to the end of this section.
okay.
Well, I would still, I'd still have to say that, we're in quarantine from our poor behavior.
Yes.
But we can elevate ourselves through their teachings to change that behavior.
Yeah, that's true. And remember, even though we're in quarantine, we have two ways of communication yet, don't we? We have the thought adjuster who communicates directly with God the Father, right? And we have the ministering angels. They can communicate with the other types of ministering angels for us, can't they? Okay, so we're not, in essence, what Millie's saying is true. We're not in total quarantine. It's kind of like a partial quarantine, because they still give us information through the ministering spirits and through the thought adjusters. But we don't see and participate like a normal, unquarantined world would, right? There's a different process.
Oh, Stephen,
Okay.
It's in the very last section of this paper. It says this sphere is still under partial spiritual quarantine.
Right.
And some of the circuits essential for these ministering spirits, some of the things that they need are not available to them.
That's
because
right.
of that.
That's right. And this may be one of them. We don't know. They didn't tell us which bits and pieces is not available, did they? Okay, so we only have to speculate.
But the space of Satania is in physical gravity.
What's that again, Val? I didn't catch
The
that.
space of Satania
Yeah,
is in physical gravity.
it's in
So actually the higher civilization which were involved with the default, even if they have a technology travel through space, they cannot penetrate that quarantine membrane.
Yeah, they probably can't. You're probably right. Yeah. Okay, who's next? Millie? Millie, did you just read her?
Yes, I just read the first
Okay.
paragraph.
Rodney, would you take the next one?
Surely, by these very techniques to the perfecters of wisdom, adapt decisions and recommendations to the real needs and actual status of the peoples and worlds under consideration, and always do they act in concert with the divine counselors and the universal censors. But the sublime repleteness of these transactions is beyond even my ability to comprehend.
Okay, so y'all think about this. They work for the divine censor, the perfecters of wisdom, the divine counselors, and the universal censors. Now, we know that these are a governing court body, right? A traveling court body. So it would make sense if these systems work for them, then they would still work even though we're in quarantine. You see that? Okay? Because these are governing bodies that make decisions on the way that the superuniverse is run and maintained, right? Okay, so it's kind of interesting. It can get very involved when you sit and try to think through all these possibilities with all these
Well,
things.
it's got there the actual status of the people and worlds under consideration. So again, you know, as the people are advancing on the world, then these are the considerations that they take into effect on that. Is
That's
that
right.
true?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Okay.
All right. The next one is the Union of Souls. Val, you keep getting these long ones. I'm sorry, but
What is that, 2859?
28.5. On mine is 13. The Union of Souls.
Number 3.
It'd be 28.5.13.
Thirteen.
Number 3. The Union of Souls.
Last paragraph on 311.
Union of Souls. All right, completing the triune staff or attachment to the perfecters of wisdom are these reflectors of the ideals and status of ethical relationships of all the problems in the universe requiring an exercise of the consummate wisdom of experience and adaptability. None are more important than those arising out of the relationship and associations of intelligent beings, whether in human association of commerce and trade, friendship and marriage, or in the liaisons of the individuals. There continue to arise petty frictions and minor misunderstandings too trivial even to engage the attention of conciliators, but sufficiently irritating and disturbing to mar the smooth working of the universe. If they were allowed to multiply and therefore, through the perfecters of the wisdom make available the wise experience of their order as the oil of reconciliation for an entire superuniverse. In all his work, these wise men of the superuniverses are ably seconded by their reflective associates, the unions of souls, who make available current information regarding the status of the universe and concurrently portray the paradise ideal of the best adjustment of these perplexing problems. When not specifically directionalized elsewhere, these second nothings remain in reflective liaison with the interpreters of the ethics on paradise.
Okay, so think about the name of these angels, the Union of Souls. Okay, and you have to think about each type of being. Each one of us has our own souls, and we have our own background and our own understanding of things, and that's why they go into human associations like commerce, trade, friendship, marriage, or any of these things. All these things, because of the differences in the way we are brought up and the way we grow and the way we experience, we come up to these minor misunderstandings. And it's by themselves, they're not major for anything in the universe, but when you have too many of these things, they could mar up the functioning of the way the universe is supposed to run. So these basic angels, the reflective angels, help smooth out all these differences of beings. Does that make sense? Okay.
That's what they qualify the beings. That's like mortals who are exalted, right?
That's right. That's right. Mortals who are exalted. Right. And they reflect interpretations of the ethics on paradise now. Okay, does that make sense? So it gives us a basis to go from. Okay.
Roger, I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Why do they refer to these beings as men, wise men?
Well, they could be wise women too. They could be men or women. They
you don't refer to a spiritual being as a man.
No, and actually most angels are referred to as she, aren't they? If you think about it. So really, they're using this because we have a term, the wise men of the ages, in the Old Testament. So they're probably trying to use a term that we would associate with. You see what I'm saying?
For us to understand.
Yeah, it's easier for us to understand. Yeah, I don't think they mean it literally as far as sex goes. You know, sex-wise.
And I didn't mean that as far as women and men. I'm just mean men in general. I figured that connoted mortals.
Yeah,
Instead
well,
of saying wise men, why didn't they say these wise beings?
Well, they could have used wise beings, but they're probably trying to relate it back to us as much as possible.
They don't procreate; they create it. So they actually somewhere between male and female.
Okay, and it's going to come a little clearer with this next paragraph. Let's go on.
These are the angels who foster and promote the teamwork of all of Quantum. One of the most important lessons to be learned during your mortal career is teamwork. The spheres of perfection are manned by those who have mastered this art of working with other beings. Few are the duties in the universe for the lone servant. The higher you ascend, the more lonely you become when temporarily without the association of your fellows.
Okay, so that kind of brings it a little bit closer to home. What they're trying to teach us is teamwork, lessons on teamwork, and that we don't do anything from, even as a mortal, all the way up through finding God the Father. Everything is always teamwork. It's always working with one another, right? And that's why Jesus kept stressing the fatherhood of God and what?
The brotherhood of man.
The brotherhood of man. That's right. So it takes teamwork to go through the process, go through the long climb all the way to paradise. And what these angels are trying to do is foster that teamwork, right? The union of souls, putting us together, working as one. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next one here.
Who?
Me, I'm up next. Okay, the heart of counsel. Now, the heart of counsel is the first group of the reflective geniuses to be placed under the supervision of the divine counselors. Okay, now we went from what? The perfecters of wisdom onto the divine counselors. So the first three were under the perfecters of wisdom. The next three are going to be under the divine counselors, right? Okay, so Seraphim of this type are in possession of the facts of space, being selective for such data in the currents of time, the circuits of time, I'm sorry. Especially are they reflective of the superific intelligent coordinators, but they are also selectively reflective of the counsel of all beings, whether of high or low estate. Whenever the divine counselors are called upon for important advice or decisions, they immediately requisition an ensemble of the hearts of counsel, and presently there is handed down a ruling which actually incorporates the coordinated wisdom and advice of the most competent minds of the entire super-universe, all of which has been censored and revised in the light of the counsel of the high minds of Havona and even paradise. So the hearts of counsel specialize in taking this wisdom and this information and handing it down after it has been censored and revised so that it could be used to the best of its ability for what it's used for, right? Okay, so that's their job. Now we're going to go on the next one. These are all under the divine counselors. Keep that in mind. Remember, the divine counselors are part of that traveling court, right? All right. The joys of existence. Stephen, would you take that one? I mean, joy of existence. Yeah.
Okay. By nature, these beings are reflectively attuned to the
Superaphic
supervisors above and to certain of the seraphim below, but it is difficult to explain just what the members of this interesting group really do. Their principal activities are directed toward promoting reactions of joy among the various orders of the angelic host and the lower will creatures. The divine counselors to whom they are attached seldom use them for specific joy finding. In a more general manner and in collaboration with the revision directors, they function as joy clearinghouses, seeking to upstep the pleasure reactions of the realm while trying to improve the humor taste, to develop a super humor among mortals and angels. They endeavor to demonstrate that there is inherent joy in free will existence, independent of all extraneous influences, and they are right, although they meet with great difficulty in getting this truth in the minds of primitive men.
That's right.
The higher spirit personalities and the angels are more quickly responsive to these educational efforts.
Okay, so think about this. Think of their name, the joy of existence. And what their job is to do is to bring joy to men and angels. Not just men, but angels also, right? And they talk about they work in general collaboration with the reversion directors. Now, I don't know if all y'all know what a reversion director is. When you get to the mansion world, entertainment is important because it creates rest. Okay? And there's a whole group of beings called reversion directors. And what they do is they come out with reversion and entertainment for all types of beings so that they enjoy their life there, they feel rested, they feel ready to resume their work and that sort of thing, you know. So it's not all work, we have to have play also, right? And part of their job is to improve our humor, which as humans, we need that really bad. We have this idea we can't have humor without filth, if you think about it. Most of the humor we know about is related into some kind of filth or evil and things like that, full of cussing and that sort of thing. What it reminds me of is the earlier comedians would come up with humor that was free of cussing and cursing and tearing people down and that sort of thing. And these reversion directors help do this, and the joys of existence works with them to help us understand and help us appreciate the joy of just existing, right? And to go about your business in a happy manner, right? Okay, so they have a whole group of angels, reflective angels, just for this, you know, which is pretty amazing. They take care of us in every which way you can think possible. You know what
adds quality to life.
Pardon me, Rodney?
It adds quality to life.
It adds quality to your life. That's exactly right. Okay? All right. So, Millie, would you take the next one, the satisfactions of service? Millie, turn your mic back on.
Got it. Okay. Sorry about that. The satisfaction of service. These angels are highly reflective of the attitude of the directors of conduct on paradise, and functioning much as do the joys of existence, they strive to enhance the value of service and to augment the satisfaction to be derived therefrom. They have done much to eliminate the deferred rewards inherent in unselfish service, service for the extension of the kingdom of truth.
Now, remember what Jesus said? Life on this planet and here out is about service, service, and more service. He who would be greatest among you will what? Serve your fellow man. That's right, serve all, right? And that's what these angels are about. They reflect the attitude and the conduct on paradise, as do the joys of existence, so that we can derive satisfaction from this service. So we know why we do this over and over and over again, so that we can understand where this satisfaction comes from and appreciate it. Okay? So it's funny how many of the things that Jesus taught us is in the beginning of this book. You know, they strive it over and over and over again. Okay? Rodney, the divine counselors. Would you take that?
The divine counselors, to whom this order is attached, utilize them to reflect from one world to another the benefits to be derived from spiritual service, and by using the performances of the best to inspire and encourage the mediocre, the second naphim contribute immensely to the quality of devoted service in the superuniverses. Effective use is made of the fraternal competitive spirit by circulating to any one world information about what the others, particularly the best, are doing. A refreshing and wholesome rivalry is promoted even among the seraphic hosts.
Okay, so the divine counselor, whom these three groups of angels are attached to, okay, use these beings to help reflect from one world to another. Does that make sense? So that we all get benefit by all this learned information, right? Okay, and the Sakanaphim contribute to doing just that, right? To this devoted service in the superuniverse. So if we want to take a being to fashion ourselves after, would be like the Sakanaphim. They serve constantly, don't they? So that's the ideas we need to get in our head, and by using these beings, it helps us promote rivalry among the other worlds and the other seraphic hosts to do the best they can. Isn't that interesting? So it's like healthy competition, right? Okay.
I didn't think there was going to be that kind of competition.
Well,
I mean, to show somebody and see how good they do, why can't you do that?
no, I think they want to do the best they can for the joy of doing it. It's not really like they're really competing, Millie. It's more for the competition to do the best they possibly can, I think. You know?
I know Jesus promoted sports, competition. He said it was good.
Yeah, just healthy competition, though. I think we got way far away from that years ago.
I've got a question, though. Obviously, with us being in quarantine, does not affect any of these services, right?
I didn't catch that all the way, Rodney. Say that
We
again.
benefit from this service even though we're in quarantine.
That's right, we do. We still benefit from the service.
I think there are things that they could do if we were totally not quarantined.
That's right.
But I
There's
think there are things that could be available to them that are not available to them.
That's right.
They don't have all their paintbrushes in the box.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know, really, because they don't. This book actually explains how universe works. Doesn't really explain how our planet works together with the universe.
Oh yeah, I think it does, Val. I really think it does. I think it's our ability to understand the relationship between our universe and what they teach us here. So it's our interpretation of it.
that knowledge is going to be good after we resurrect it.
That's right. And that's
Oh.
why I keep telling everybody this is really like a primer for the mansion worlds. This is
right.
this is your starting out point, your jumping off point for
That's
going
right.
to the mansion world. So
That's a preschool right there.
that's right. That's right. Okay, would you take the next one, Val? Number 7, the discerner of spirits.
A special liaison exists between the counselors and advisors of the second Havana circle and these reflective angels. They are the only second of them attached to the universal senses, but are probably the most uniquely specialized of all their fellows. Regardless of the source of the channel of the information, no matter how meager the evidence at the hand, when it is subjected to their reflective scrutiny. These discerns will forfeit, inform us as to the true motive, the actual purpose, and the real nature of its origin. A marvel at the super functioning of these angels who saw unerringly, what is that?
Unerringly reflect. That's right.
What is that word for?
In other words, they reflect without error.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they reflect without error the actual moral and spiritual character of any individual concerned in the focal exposure.
Okay, so this is the last of this group of Sakanathim, the discerner of spirits. Okay, and they say they're the most uniquely specialized of all these angels. Okay, but they work in close proximity with the second Havana circle and the reflective angels there. Okay, so but what they do is they reflect this information as with the true motive of the individuals and the purpose and the nature of the information it's coming from. Okay, so when you get this information, or when the universal censors gets this information, they not only know where it comes from, but they know why they said this, right? Because they know the true motives of it. Okay, so they can plug it in or not use it in what they're asking the question about, right? And they reflect the actual moral and spiritual character of any individual they were reflecting information from or they're focalized on. Okay, so when the universal censors gets this information, they know whether it actually applies to what they're asking questions about or whether it doesn't, right? It's a great system, any way you look at it, right? Okay.
The discerners of spirits carry on these intricate services by virtue of inherent spiritual insight, if I may use such words in an endeavor to convey to the human mind the thought that these reflective angels thus function intuitively, inherently, and unerringly. When the universal censors behold these presentations, they are face to face with the naked soul of the reflected individual, and this very certainty and perfection of portraiture in part explains why the censors can always function so justly as righteous judges. The discerners always accompany the censors on any mission away from Uversa, and they are just as effective out in the universes as at their Uversa headquarters.
Okay, did y'all catch that? They are face to face with the naked soul of the reflected individual. You see that? So they tear away all the other stuff that people or beings put up as shields to what they really want to say, and these discerners of spirits can tear this away and give to the universal censors the real information, right? What a strange ability to be able to do that. Okay, let's see here, just 1 second.
They're speakers of truth. You know.
Speakers of truth, that's right. I assure you that all of these transactions of the spirit world are real, that they take place in accordance with the established usages and in harmony with the immutable laws of the universal domains. The beings of every newly created order, immediately upon receiving the breath of life, are instantly reflected on high. A living portrayal of the creature nature, and the potential is flashed to the superuniverse headquarters. Thus, by means of the discerners, are the sensors made fully cognizant of exactly what manner of spirit has been born on the worlds of space. So soon as you were born, these reflective angels reflected it to the universal sensors, and they not only knew that you were born, but they knew of the potential. The minute you were born, I guess in your DNA and your background and what's to come for you, what's the potential you have for the super universe. Isn't that interesting? So they kind of see into the future in a sense, don't they?
So there's a plan for every one of us, don't
There's a plan for a potential plan for everyone, but we have to do what? We have to willfully go with the Father's will to get on that plan, don't we? And that's our decision. That's what's called free will, right? Okay? Stephen, would you take the next one?
So it is with mortal man. The Mother Spirit of Salvington knows you fully, for the Holy Spirit on your world searches all things. And whatsoever the Divine Spirit knows of you is immediately available whenever the
Sacraphic.
Okay. Discerners reflect with the Spirit concerning the Spirit's knowledge of you. It should, however, be mentioned that the knowledge and plans of the Father fragments are not reflectable. The discerners can and do reflect the presence of the adjusters, and the censors pronounce them divine, but they cannot decipher the content of the mindedness of the mystery monitors.
Now this is real important, y'all. Think about this. Our local universe Mother Spirit, the Mother Spirit of Salvington, that's what they're talking about here, right? Through the Holy Spirit, searches and knows all things, everything about us, our future, our past, what we're thinking, what our goals are, everything, right? But she does not know what's in the mind of the adjuster. That is fully the right of the universal Father, right? So we have a local universe Mother Spirit that is watching out for us, trying to push us in the right direction and all that, and keep us on track, okay? But we also have that mystery monitor, the thought adjuster, that is the Father fragment, and he is going to do, or try to give you the will of the Father and the will of the Father in your life constantly, right? So it's two different types of forces. One doesn't go into the other, does it? Okay, and that's something that we need to understand. So we have two separate forces there influence us. What's the third force? Spirit of truth. The spirit of the sun, right? The sun's circuit, right? The spirit of truth is also there. Okay.
Well, there's many circuits.
That's right.
Circuits too.
Alright, let's go into the next one. Let me advance a couple of these here. Give me a second. Okay. Now we go on to the tertiary seconophen, right? Millie, would you take the first one?
6, yes. 6. This tertiary seconophen. In the same manner as their fellows, these angels are created serially and in 7 reflective types, but these types are not assigned individually to the separate services of the super-universe administrators. All tertiary seconophen are collectively assigned to the trinitized sons of attainment, and these ascendant sons use them interchangeably. That is, the mighty messengers can and do utilize any of the tertiary types, and so do their coordinates. Those high in authority and those without name and number. These 7 types of tertiary seconifem are...
Stay there for a minute, Millie. We're going to go on to the next slide. But before we do that, I want to bring something up. The last 2 groups, the primary and the secondary seconifem, were assigned to specific beings, weren't they? Okay, 3 of them, and 2 groups of 3s and a 1, right? To specific functions. Now the tertiary seconifem are not like that. They service 3 groups also, but they all service all 3 groups, and that's the Trinitized Sons of Attainment. And we're going to learn a little bit about those in a minute, okay? And we're going to find out these Trinitized Sons of Attainment are what? Ascending mortals. Okay, that's the difference. So let's go on to the next paradise. Okay, number 1. Rodney, would you take number 1, the significance of origin? Before you do that, Rodney, let me mention this slide beside me here. This is a picture of the Trinitized Son, or the tertiary seconifem, and you'll see next to them those without name and number, those high in authority, and the mighty messengers. And we're going to find out that these are all Trinitized Sons of Attainment, and these were once all mortals, right? Okay, so I wanted to show you that picture on that. So Rodney, would you take the first one?
Okay, number 1, the significance of origins. The ascendant Trinitized Sons of the Superuniverse government are charged with the responsibility of dealing with all issues growing out of the origin of any individual, race, or world. And the significance of origin is the paramount question in all our plans for the cosmic advancement of the living creatures of the realm. All relationships and the application of ethics grow out of the fundamental facts of origin. Origin is the basis of the relational reaction of the gods. Always does the conjoint actor take note of the man and what manner he was born.
Okay. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out. The significance of origins. This is so important. First, it says the ascendant Trinitized Sons of the Superuniverse. Did you see that? You know what that ascendant Trinitized Sons means? That means all these beings started out as mortals, just like us. Okay? Ascendant Trinitized Sons. These mortals were Trinity embraced. Okay? I wanted to point that out first. The other thing is they deal with the significance of where you came from, significance of origins. It takes note of your race, your individual world, you as any individual, all the things that mold you into the character and the type of being that you are. That is very important because it tells them how you're going to react when it comes to other beings. Okay, so that's why they go on to say the conjoint actor always takes note of the manner, or men or women, in which he was born. So if you were born on a strife-born planet where you had to claw your way up from the evil and things that we have like in this world by your hands and feet, knees, you know, it's different than if you're born on a world of ease, like in light and life, isn't it? Because you have learned lessons that are not available on these other worlds. So that's where the significance of origins are very important, and they relay this information so that as you take on responsibilities and you take on jobs, they know whether you're qualified for those jobs or whether you need more experience to go and do them. Right? Does that make sense? So you can see the importance of the significance of origins. And they relay this information back to whom? Those without name and number, those high in authority, and mighty messengers. they are relaying this information back to beings just like you, that came from areas just like you, so that they know how to deal with you just like you. Right? Does that make sense?
They know us more than we know ourselves.
That's right. They know us as well as we know ourselves. That's right, because they came from the same sort of backgrounds. Right? Okay?
I think Rodney's right.
Huh?
I think Rodney's right.
That's right. They probably do. I think Val's up next. Right? Did Rodney, you just read? I'm lost again. I get talking so much. Okay. Val, would you take the next one?
With a higher descendant being's origin is simply a fact to be ascertained.
Ascertained.
Oh, wait a minute, ascertained.
Okay.
But with the ascending beings, including the lower orders of angels, the nature and circumstances of origin are not always so clear. So, of equally vital importance at almost every turn of universe occurs. Hence, the value of having at our disposal a series of reflected sinners or second opinions who can instantly portray anything required respecting the genesis of any being in either the central universe or throughout the entire realm of Superuniverse.
Okay, so they can give that information for any being, not only in the central universe, but through the entire 7 super universes. Okay?
And their computational for such facts is always up to the minute.
That's right. It's always up to the minute. You want to take the next one here?
The significances of origin are the living, ready reference genealogies of the vast host of beings, men, angels, and others, who inhabit the 7 super-universes. They are always ready to supply their superiors with an up-to-date, replete, and trustworthy estimate of the ancestral factors and the current actual status of any individual on any world of their respective super-universes, and their computation of possessed facts is always up to the minute.
Okay, so it's always current, isn't it? I mean, there's no question that when they tell them something, it's right up to that minute. Okay? Let's see here. The memory of mercy. This is another very important one. These are the actual, full, and replete living records of the mercy which has been extended to individuals and races by the tender ministrations of the instrumentalities of the infinite spirit in the mission of adapting the justice of righteousness to the status of the realms as disclosed by the portrayals of the significance of origins. The memory of mercy discloses the moral debt of the children of mercy, their spiritual liabilities, to be set down against their assets of the saving provisions established by the sons of God. In revealing the Father's pre-existent mercy, the sons of God establish the necessary credit to assure the survival of all. And then, in accordance with the findings of the significance of origins, a mercy credit is established for the survival of each rational creature, a credit of lavish proportions and one of sufficient grace to ensure the survival of every soul who really desires divine citizenship. Do y'all understand this? This is so important. This is the memory of mercy. This is the reflective angel that keeps track of how much mercy is given to you. And when you stand before judgment or the Ancients of Days, they take your mercy credits compared to what you've done in the world, and you always have enough mercy to assure your survival. You see that? And that's established by whom? The sons of God, by Jesus. Okay? It's because of Jesus and his negotiating that we basically have mercy for every single human being on this planet who, number one, is rational. That's a big part. And number two, who really desires divine citizenship. Do you see that? So does that mean that every single being on this planet survives? No,
No.
it doesn't. You have to be
I mean,
you have to be rational, right? And you have to desire divine citizenship. You have to make a decision to survive. You see that? And this is where you get mercy to be able to do that, regardless of what you've done in your life. Does that make sense? It's that attitude of survival, what you want to do, right? Y'all have any questions about this? Because this is just so important.
Who decides if you're rational?
that's what I was wondering.
I would think it would be some higher beings, a lot higher than we are, Millie, wouldn't you? Because even the ones that make the decisions on this planet aren't very rational, if you think about it.
Well, there must be a standard for rationalism.
There must be. There's a standard for cosmic insanity, too. Now, what has a big portion of that is what? Rebellion and sin. What is sin? Sin is a rebellion against God the Father, against the Father's will, right? And then you have iniquity, which is the constant repeating of doing that same sin over and over and over again, even though you know it's against the Father's will. You know?
So that would be irrational.
That's irrational, and that's what they talk about as being on border of cosmic insanity. And those are the type of beings that would not survive, would they? Because they want to live in an unreal universe. The universe is run a certain way, and when you sin and you go against God over and over and over, it skews your concept of reality. You think sin and evil is good, and you think that's the way life should be, right? But when you follow the Father's will, you actually start to embrace what? You start to embrace goodness, truth, beauty, and goodness, right? And when you start to embrace that, then anything that you consider as against the Father's will or sinful, you avoid like the plague, right? It's just a rational being would do that. That's what we're talking about. That's what you would call cosmic sanity, wouldn't you? You'd want to do what God wants you to. You want to survive. You want to keep going. You want to help your brothers and sisters, right? The fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man. It always comes back to that, doesn't it? Okay?
It would be a lack of understanding is where our problem is, though.
It is, Stephen.
I mean, it's like you say, we would always choose to do something that is good. And I mean, there's people that kill somebody thinking it's good. You know what I'm saying?
And that's part of that cosmic
understanding that is creating our problem.
That's right. That's part of that cosmic insanity, isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah.
They've done evil and they've done sin for so long they think it's the norm. Okay? And that's where the problem comes in. People have gotten in this habit of doing things against each other, and they think it's okay to do that, and it's not. Okay? And after you live in sin for such a long period of time, it becomes second nature to you, and then it turns into iniquity. That's what they're talking about when we're talking about iniquity. You do that same thing over and over and over again, and you become numb to the feeling that it's wrong sooner or later, because God stops speaking to you. You have a free will. Right? So you turn off that little voice of God saying this is the way, and you start going your own way, and the farther you go down your own way, the farther away you get from God. Right? That makes sense? But it's the decision, it's knowing, it's the enlightenment that makes the difference. Right? So, because enlightened people and sons and daughters of God want to find out more about God, don't they? They want to live a righteous life. They want to do the will of God. They want to make the Father happy. You know, the Father loves them, so they, in return, does the service for the Father. And doing service for the Father, what do you automatically do? You do service for your fellow man. Right?
Yes, yes.
It just makes logical sense. But the farther you go down the ways of sin, the harder it is to come back, isn't it? Because it becomes such a second nature to you, right? Okay.
I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out.
Yes, we will. Okay, let's go on to the next paragraph. The memory of mercy. Oh, Stephen, that's you. 2866.
Okay. These are the actual, full, and repleted living records of the mercy which has been extended to individuals and races.
Wait a
by
minute,
the
Stephen. You missed a whole sentence. Go back one sentence before that.
Actually, you just read this, Roger.
Oh, okay. So I'm down one further
No.
then?
Yeah, 2866.
Okay.
The memory of mercy.
Okay, the memory of mercy is a living trial balance, a current statement of your account with the supernatural forces of the realm. These are the living records of mercy, ministration, which are read into the testimony of the courts of Uversa. When each individual's right to unending life comes up for adjudication,
Adjudication.
when thrones are cast up and the ancients of days are seated, the broadcast of Uversia issues and come forth from before them. Thousands upon thousands minister to them, and 10,000 times 10,000 stand before them. The judgment is set, and the books are opened. And the books which are opened on such a momentous occasion are living records of the tertiary
Sakanafem.
Okay. Of the superuniverses. The formal records are on file to corroborate the testimony of the memories of mercy if they are required.
Do y'all see why this is so important? The memory of mercy? Because when these beings stand before the ancients of days and are judged, it's these records that are opened, and they can compare what you've done against the memory of mercy, against the records, right?
If I'm not mistaken, this would be the book of life mentioned in the Bible. Right?
This is the book of life. It's mentioned in Revelation, right, Rodney? It's the book of life. They give us an example.
They judge 10,000 times 10,000 at one time.
At one time, that's right. When would this happen? This would be on what? Y'all know this. This is when a adjudication of the realm happens every 1,000 years or so, doesn't it? Large numbers of beings are called up at one time. Now, why were they called up at one time? Because they did not reach what? The third psychic circle, and were granted advanced status, right? You follow me? That's when this happens. This is a large adjudication at one time. This is not a single adjudication when one being who's reached the third psychic circle dies and gets advanced to the mansion worlds. That's a totally different process, isn't it? You need to keep that straight in your mind.
These people died and went to sleep, but they didn't go to the mansion worlds yet.
That's exactly right, Millie. They might sleep for 800 years, they might sleep for 400 years. It just depends when next the adjudication comes up, right?
I thought after 3 days at the resurrection hall.
Only the ones who reach the third psychic circle on the third day is resurrected, right?
Right.
Remember that?
And if you've reached the third psychic circle, you'll go on to the mansion worlds. If you haven't, you'll go to sleep.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Wait till the adjudication.
That's right. But you see why this memory of mercy is important for these beings? Okay? So if you get to the mansion worlds and somebody you know doesn't show up for a long period of time, they probably didn't make it to that third psychic circle, did they? That does not mean they won't make it. They may come at a later time when they have a mass adjudication like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we make that third psychic circle?
Doing just exactly what you're doing right now, Stephen.
Okay.
Searching for God. right? Doing the
Okay.
will of the Father. If you constantly do the will of the Father, try to find out about God, try to live your life in a godly manner, you'll make it to the third psychic circle. Okay?
Okay.
And if you
Or
don't, you can
further.
tell them I told you that.
Stop feeling sorry for politicians.
And lawyers.
There's no cliff notes for it.
No, there's no listen. Okay, all right. Let's go on to the next paragraph because we got some more on this. I want y'all to get the whole picture here. Okay.
The memory of mercy must show that the saving credit established by the saints of God has been fully and faithfully paid out in the loving ministry of the patient personalities of the third source and center. But when mercy is exhausted, when the memory thereof testifies to the depletion, then does justice prevail and righteousness decree. For mercy is not to be thrust upon those who despise it. Mercy is not a gift to be trampled underfoot by the persistent rebels of time. Nevertheless, though mercy is thus precious and dearly bestowed, your individual drawing credits are always far in excess of your ability to exhaust the reserve if you are sincere of purpose and honest of heart.
The last sentence, if you are sincere of purpose and honest of heart, right? This
Yes.
mercy is not to be trampled upon, right? What's the wages of sin? Death. That's right. That has not changed. The wages of sin is death. It always has been, always will be. And what is sin? Sin is rebellion against God. If you continue to rebel against God and don't change your ways, eventually that force that makes you who you are will be removed, right? We found out about these divine executioners that go out and do just that, don't they? Okay? So we know that that's the case. But mercy is not to be taken lightly. You have to be sincere of purpose and honest of heart. In other words, you have to what? Want to survive, and you want to follow the Father's will. Right? That's what it all boils down to. Okay, let's try to get through this section for me quick tonight. Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one?
Surely. The mercy reflectors, with their
Tertiary.
tertiary associates, engage in numerous superuniverse ministries, including the teaching of the ascending creatures. Among many other things, the significance of origins teach these ascenders how to apply spirit ethics, and following such training, the memories of mercy teach them how to be truly merciful. While the spirit techniques of mercy ministry are beyond your concept, you should even now understand that mercy is a quality of growth. You should realize that there is a great reward of personal satisfaction in being first just, next fair, then patient, then kind. And then, on that foundation, if you choose and have it in your heart, you can take the next step and really show mercy. But you cannot exhibit mercy in and of itself. These steps must be traversed. Otherwise, there can be no genuine mercy. There may be patronage, condescension, or charity, even pity, but not mercy. True mercy comes only as the beautiful climax to these preceding
Adjuncts.
adjuncts to group understanding, mutual appreciation, fraternal fellowship, spiritual communion, and divine harmony.
Now, what are they talking about here, Rodney? We're on a different subject in essence. Not really. Okay, they're talking about the mercy we extend to one another. The brotherhood of man, aren't they? So the mercy not only comes from the Father down, but it also goes out from what? Us outward, right? And that's what this paragraph's all about. But you have to go past the steps, you know? Because if not, you end up with condescension, charity, or even pity, but it is not mercy. Mercy has to come from within, doesn't it? Okay, and that's what these mercy reflectors do. Okay? All right, let me change this one. Val, would you take the next one? The import of time?
Time is the one universal endowment of all well creatures. It is the one talent entrusted to all intelligent beings. You all have time in which to ensure your survival, and time is fairly squandered only when it is buried in neglect, when you fail so to utilize it as to make certain the survival of your soul. Failure to improve one's time to the fullest extent possible does not impose fatal penalties. It merely retards the pilgrim of time in his journey of ascent. So it's not that bad. If the survival is gained, all other losses can be retrieved.
All other losses can be retrieved. Okay, the import of time. Okay, time, remember in the New Testament, when Jesus talks about the one talent, you know, everybody is given at least one talent. This is what they're talking about. We are all given time on this planet, aren't we? And we're given plenty of time to ensure our own survival. Plenty of time. So the question is, are you going to squander your time or neglect your future in the universe, or are you going to make certain of the survival of your soul? That's what it's asking here, right? It goes on to say it does not always impose fatal penalties just because you're slothful, right? But it does retard your progress over time. That's why I'm saying this book is so important on this planet. It teaches us and prepares us for the mansion worlds, right? So are you going to use your time to prepare for your future, or are you going to use your time to sit around and watch TV 24 hours a day? Good question, isn't it? Right? So I think I'm going to, it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to have to cut it off here. We will take it up on this paragraph next time, paragraph number 3, the import of time. Let me tell you all what I have planned after this. After this paper, we finish this paper, I'm going to finish our study of the ministering spirits. We're getting close to being done with all the ministering spirits. We still have the seraphim to do, and that's paper 113 and 114. So that's what's going to be coming the next few weeks. So just want to let y'all know that. So let's say a little prayer, and we'll cut off for tonight. Y'all don't go anywhere until I stop the video and all that stuff. So let's say a little prayer, and we'll break up. Father, we thank you for this information. We pray that we can use it in our daily lives. It might improve us, that we might find your will in our lives, and we might serve one another. And we just thank you and praise you that you've given this information to us and allowed us to start realizing these things on this planet instead of the ones to come. We thank you. We thank you for your Son and our creative Mother Spirit. We thank you and we praise you for being our Father. And we say this in the name of your Son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen. Thank you for coming, everyone. Please come and see us again. Let me stop the videos here.